Hello and welcome back to my movie reviews. Today is episode 4, day 4, and I am going to be covering The Lost World, the 1960 movie based on the book by Arthur Conan Doyle. Uh, and this is a movie that I saw on a DVD collection of Universal classics, and I did not know what it was. I have not read the book. And when I saw the menu page or the title screen where it said the Lost World and it had a background, the background was some really weirdly uh, colored dinosaurs with bad cutouts of people running away, and I was like, oh God, what am I getting myself into? But surprisingly, I actually really like this movie. It's one of the older examples of expedition movie tropes. So there are a lot of cliche moments in this, a lot of cliche moments. But I really did like it. So for a summary, this story follows the journey of a professor named Professor George Challenger, who has discovered that there is a plateau in the middle of the Amazon jungle that has dinosaurs on it. And he goes to a scientific meeting and he's like, we need to get an expedition together and learn about the dinosaurs. And they're like, oh, you're ridiculous, but we'll amuse you. So he and his uh, rival scientist, Professor Summerlee, go on an expedition alongside Lord Roxton, who is uh, he's an explorer, which I don't think is really touched on that much, but he's apparently done some famous expeditions. And Ed Malone, who is a journalist for the Global News or something like that. And they are later joined by Jenny, who is the daughter of the boss of Ed Malone, her brother David, Gomez, the helicopter pilot, and some crazy guy named Costa. Um, he he is not really necessary, but they go to the plateau. Their camp gets attacked by dinosaurs. Their helicopter gets smashed, and they have to figure out what to do. Along the way, they meet a native girl, who of course is a very attractive woman in a brown cloth skimpy dress with armbands and whatever to make her look like a native. I don't that part. Or she's fine. She doesn't ever get a name. They just call her that girl the entire movie. So I have her name on the back as that girl. Um, First thing I want to say about this movie is Jenny brings her dog, which is like a little teacup poodle. She brings her dog with her. That is completely useless. There are one or two moments where the dog just runs away, gets in trouble, makes people chase it. It's just I don't know. It's not a very good story point, but they did it anyway. So there are a lot of characters in this movie actually, and I was afraid at the beginning that the characters were gonna feel unnecessary. And Costa, well, he gets his moments near the end, and he's sort of the guy who's going crazy. He's the least so, and after that would be David. He doesn't show up till like 40 minutes into the movie. They're just like, oh, this is David. And you're like, why is he here? But he is the love interest of the native girl, so that's his point, which actually worked out. Started becoming more relevant. So all the characters actually do feel fleshed out and have their own motives, and that I really do appreciate that because there are a significant amount of characters in this. This movie is obviously a not sci-fi, well, yeah, sci-fi adventure movie, but there's a lot of comedy in this. Characters are constantly throwing insults back and forth, or little quippy moments where they're just saying something funny that's intended for a laugh. There's not a laugh track, which I appreciate, but it's pretty comedic, especially watching it through the eyes of someone from the 21st century who sees the old sets and over dramatic acting. and it's funny. It's a good movie. Um, I originally thought that it was kind of dumb that the dinosaurs were in the Amazon. I was curious why it wasn't an island, but it turns out that they make a like sort of a scientific reason. They make a scientific reason for why the dinosaurs are up there, and I actually really like that. So I have a note that says dinosaurs in Amazon. I'm like, never mind. That's actually kind of cool. Um, so character introductions are actually really well layered in this movie. You start off with Professor Professor Challenger, Ed, and Jenny, and then you meet Summerlee, and it all flows pretty well. No one's just bam, except for really David. Um, so that was actually done really well. Um, yeah, I really do think they should have introduced David earlier. He feels tacked on for the first like 50 minutes of his appearance. I just realized I did my addition wrong. The movie is 96 minutes, so not very long. Pretty easy just to sit down and watch if you have an extra hour and a half in your life. Jenny, her costume design. Oh, geez. She's always wearing something yellow or white or bright pink pants near the end, and I felt that that was really out of place to the point where it was obnoxious. But it turns out that like I thought about it a little more, and she is out of place. She doesn't really do much adventuring, even though she brags that she's the bravest and can shoot and fly better than any man she knows. But her costume design is a mixed bag for me. All the other costumes in this movie are fine. They're just like tan suits for adventuring in. There is one part in this where they're on the helicopter and randomly just xylophone random notes just start coming in, and I looked at my brother when this happened, and we cringed at it because it's so out of nowhere and it breaks the mood, and it's pretty bad, honestly. Another bad thing is the newsreel, the news report section, when they're like newspaper clippings are going on the screen and they're not quite transparent but not quite opaque, and it's really awkward and it feels shoddily made. Yeah, honestly, a lot of the special effects in this movie are pretty well done, especially the dinosaurs, which I'll get to in a minute, and the sets are amazing, which I'll also get to in a minute. But to finish up the characters, Professor Challenger, who's really the main character in this, even though I feel like I should say that it's Ed Malone. Challenger really is the center. He's a catalyst, so he's not very adventurous, even though he's a scientist who wanted the expedition and all that. He's kind of just an old bumbling guy who's frustrated by everyone. Good character, but I feel like they could have made him a little more adventurous and it would have fit better. Uh, so yeah, that's it for characters. But as for the special effects with the sets and the dinosaurs in this movie I thought were going to be some sort of animatronic, like a Godzilla or King Kong sort of deal. But it turns out what they did is they got a crocodile, two Gila monsters, and an iguana, and put spikes and fins and little diamond things to make them look like stegosauruses. They don't look exactly like real dinosaurs or their counterparts. You can tell, but I actually really liked it because I feel like uh, the animatronics would have been a lot worse. It ends up being kind of interesting. They have to fight, which is clearly animal abuse, by the way, but it works a lot better than if they were, because they're not slow. They're fast paced, which is a little more terrifying than a slow moving Godzilla. They do say a couple things like a iguana monster walks by and one of the professors is like, "Oh, that's a brontosaurus," and I don't even know what they were thinking when they wrote that. Makes no sense. There's also a baby like alligator dinosaur near the end that they say is a T-Rex. No, it's not. I don't know why they wrote that. They could have made up some dinosaur name and it would have been a lot better. But they try to use something that we'll recognize. Except for we know what they look like, and that's a moment of oof. There's the sets. They have a lot of jungle sets, some cave sets, and then one set that's like a spider web or a like tunnels through spider webs, which I thought was amazingly done. There was like lighting coming in through the making shadows on the floor, and it was wispy and kind of creepy, and I really liked that. There was also a lot of jungle sets with like interactive, strange plants, and made it feel pretty otherworldly, but pretty just junglish, and it worked really well. I think the set design in this movie is incredible. There the fights in this movie, there's one fight between two guys and one fight between two dinosaurs, and I think they did really well in those. A lot of editing for like over the shoulder and things like that, but I think that they for what they were focusing on was the adventure. The fights were it actually ended up pretty good. The green screens in this movie are really well done, especially for 1960 when you think about it. They have like a giant iguana and the people in front of it, and they like layered it so you can see both, and but the iguana's still giant, and they really did a good job. Except for one part in the spider web, there's a spider that pops down, just flops down from the screen, and it's bright green. I can't remember if it moves or not. I don't think it did, but it's really bad. The bright green doesn't work. I don't know why they just didn't have it be brown. Uh, Maybe to make it look like some sort of otherworldly spider, but it's a giant spider either way. Yeah, the spider web's awful. There are a couple good plot twists in this. One plot twist which is actually good near the middle, which it doesn't change the story, but it affects it in the end. And then there's one minor plot twist at the very end, like 10 minutes before the movie finishes, which is a lot more average and predictable. But plot twists obviously weren't the focus of this movie. Uh, my one final complaint, and this is just a nitpick. There is a group of natives near somewhere like 3/4 of the movie, and they're sitting there, they're playing their drums, they're being all native-y, like really stereotypical. And there's one guy in the center who's got a giant drum, and he's got a drumstick with a yellow ball on the end, and he's going like this, but he's not hitting the drum. And I hated that. It really took me out of the movie. But aside from that, I think that I really did like this movie. It worked out really well for what it was trying to do, and surprisingly became better than I thought it would be. So I think I'll give it a 8.8 out of 10. So that's it for my review. Subscribe for daily reviews, and I will see you guys another day.